Now, as we move to our behavior bucket here, you have a simple kind of 4D way to think about all of those things and put this strategy together. Would you mind sharing that with us?
Yeah, so the 4D framework that we've put together for Scrappy ABM is data, distribution, destination, and direction. So to quickly outline what that means, again, the most important piece to this is data. So like, who are we going after? How are we validating that these are the right people to be going after? And then once we know who those people are, included in that is like, what's the reason to reach out? So I think one of the greatest complaints that sales has about marketing in a more standard like lead gen model is you're sending me all these people, you give me no reason to actually reach out, that's a legitimate reason. So included in that data set is the reason to reach out, which then informs how we position our products. What is the messaging that we should be using? What is the content that we should be sending them? And like, what are the then best distribution channels to actually reach them based on this data set? So I'll give you a quick example of one of the simplest that anybody can go and run with is close lost. Like you can look at your close lost bucket and you can build an entire program around re-engaging close lost deals. And most people know that they should run a close loss program. I generally hear from a lot of sales leaders towards like the end of Q3, early Q4, like, oh crap, we should run a close loss program. And it just kind of like slapped together in about a week and a half. And then they run it and it's not super effective. They're like, it shouldn't work. And I just kind of think you could build a repeatable program around it that's like intentional and is, again, from the when we close something out, what is the reason we lost it? And then you can actually build programs with specific content that addresses those reasons. So that's the data side. Distribution. How are we reaching out? So that could be email, it could be LinkedIn organic, it could be paid ads, it could be communities, it could be webinars, it could be podcast. There's like all these different ways that you could reach out. But the idea is that we have this data that gives us a reason to reach out and informs the content we should be creating. The question is then, how do we get that in front of the right audience at the right time through these different channels? Destination becomes, where are we pointing them to? So again, that may not always be book a call. It depends on where they are in their journey and the reason to reach out. Prime example, I think everyone, when they announce a Series A, just kind of expects their inbox to be flooded with, we do this, we do this, we do this. And like, that's not a really good reason to reach out. It means they have money. It means that they're prioritizing things. What would be better is to figure out, how did they get the funding for their Series A? What did they tell their investors that they were going to use that money on? And then saying, hey, you raised the Series A. We know that you were specifically able to get these dollars for X reasons. We help provide solutions on that front. I know you're getting bombarded. Could we just be helpful? Here's a guide that helps organizations of your size in your industry figure out the best solutions for this space at your current stage. It's not asking for a call. It's not asking for anything. It's saying, here is helpful information as you're being bombarded by everybody.
Yeah.
That's destination. And then direction. Every interaction that somebody has with our brand either pulls them closer to becoming our customer or pushes them farther away. So the question is, how do we start to track what direction an account is headed? Are they more intrigued? Are they more engaged with us? So again, let's say in that example, we send a content asset, and then suddenly we see that account starting to look all over our website, because there's some pretty free or very inexpensive tools that can de-anonymize your website traffic. So you see, we send an outbound sequence, they engage in this content asset, and then suddenly they're on our product and our pricing page. Direction, they're probably heading closer to us. And then, by the way, you can stack another play on top of that. That is a website re-engagement play. So again, you have the prospect play that is kind of cold, that gets them aware, that gets them interested. And then based on the specific engagement on your website, you can then follow up in an intentional way that says, hey, it looks like you were checking out our product and our pricing page. Is there anything that I can help you answer? So now we've tracked, again, what's our data set? Who are we going after? What are our distribution channels? What are we pointing them towards? And then based on what we pointed them towards, how do we track? Are they coming closer to us? Are they moving further away from us? Or do they just not really care? Because that's also really helpful information to know.
Yeah, all of that is so great. And I think three things kind of came to mind for me when you're talking there. One was what you said about the closed lost. I think the research that I've seen is more than 50% of B2B deals end in no decision, which means you didn't really lose it. They kicked it out another 30, 90 days or next year, which means you need some sort of always on marketing plan, account-based marketing for those to let you know when they are ready to be engaged again. All right.
Yep.
So that's huge. Second thing I heard was the data. I don't think the average company, if they're not involved in ABM, really understand how much data is available these days. You mentioned you can put kind of website caller ID and see how many people from this organization have hit Sandler.com. And you can also see their search data inside of these things now. So if, say, I was calling on a large account and they have had, 10 visits to Sandler.com this week. They looked at this page about customer success training. And oh, by the way, there were 350 other searches for customer success throughout their organization. When that salesperson calls up, they're completely armed with who I should be talking to, why I should be talking to them, what they're interested in, and they can have a really great targeted conversation. And then I think to continue that example, the other cool thing that people miss are those not the destinations, but the places where you can put these ads and the tools that you can use, is that you can start surrounding people in a really interesting way that I think is still a little creepy for people these days, but we don't realize how much this happens. I realize that every time I go on Instagram. You're like, good Lord, these ads are like, I want to buy everything that I scroll past on this. I have no idea how they target that, but we could be showing them, like if they're looking for customer success on LinkedIn, an offer for a customer success white paper, 10 best practices or 10 common mistakes people make with customer success. And then on Google ads and retargeting, like when they're searching and when they're seeing display ads all over the internet, it says like, hey, Sandler's customer success program here. And we're just really hitting them everywhere they are. And we can set alerts for kind of lead scoring that then our salesperson calls up and says, hey, are you interested in customer success? And at this point, like if they're interested at all, we've got their attention.